So now that the straps are sewn on, I am going to go ahead and start with my hip belt attachment points and the wings, which are going to hold the webbing in that's going to run to this adjustment point. So what I'm going to do first is I already went ahead and I marked 1/2 inch up with a Sharpie mark right here and on here, and that's where I'm going to place my first attachment point. So I'm going to sew this on, and I'm also going to sew another one in right here, very close to it, maybe space it out just a little bit, like 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to sew these down, and then I'm going to come back, and once I have my webbing sewn in, I am going to sew this piece right over top of it. And once this is all sewn in, it's going to fold out, and it's going to allow these to all be used in the correct order, because you want this outside of these, and I'll show you why when we're done. Hey guys, one thing I kind of just flew by, I forgot to record the process of me doing this, was making these pack wings. Really, it's really simple. It's really simple how you make these. This is just a 5-inch finished by approximately 2 3/4. But really, this is probably a 1/2 inch fold, which is kind of overkill. That's a 1/2 inch, so this was really 3 1/4 inches by 5 inches, and I just folded this half in. And what this is going to allow me to do is when it's time to actually sew all the panels, I'm just going to fold this in half just like this. And this raw edge, this edge, these edges right here, they are going to stick inside of the seam of the backpack. So if you can imagine my fingers being the seam of the pack, you're just going to go right in right there. And that way you have this clean edge that's always exposed to the elements where there's no raw edges, and your webbing is just going to go right in through here, and you're going to sew like a box stitch. But this is what's going to support the straps, and it's going to be anchored into the actual backpack. Everything is laid out, all the pieces are sewn in. I have various grosgrain tabs sewn around just for random attachment points. You'll see I have them here on the back panel. That's just in case I want to strap like a sit pad back there and use that for kind of a frame. And again, over here, the side compression system is just going to be a piece of shot cord that links back and forth. And hey bud, and that's what's going to secure the water bottles and compress the sides if I need the backpack to be any smaller. So the only thing left to do at this point is to entertain this guy and get him tired. I will then start sewing all the panels together, and we'll be off to the races. So I tried something new on this pack. I decided to sew the side pieces on first. And my thought process in that, it would allow an easier transition of assembling the corners, because that's a pretty hard part, is making these corners line up when you're actually going to sew these together. So I think I like the way it's turning out based on the assembly. But I sewed these 2 pieces to this bottom piece first, and now I just attach the front piece. And again, it's just as simple as going right side to right side, lining it up, and throwing a stitch down here. Yeah, and I went ahead and did that here too. I went right side to right side, put it flat, lay the stitch down, And now I'm going to do that on the spinal side. And then after I do that, it'll actually be time to make this thing look like a backpack and not a flying sack of crap. All the panels are sewn together, so now it is time to sew the long edges together. So we're actually going to resemble a backpack now. We're going to take this, stitch all these together with the sewing machine, and then we're going to go back for another round of sewing and go over them with the binder. So we're going to put some grosgrain along the edges to reinforce the seams. Alright, about halfway done sewing the panels together, and you will see this is how it's going to look. You're just sewing all the right side to right sides, and that way when you flip it inside out, it starts to resemble something that looks like a backpack. I have my side pockets here. This narrower, with the shorter end is facing my back, so I'm able to reach back in there. My nice piece of protective nylon on the front to protect the very bottom of this. Pretty happy with how that turned out. So yeah. This is it. This is the bag in its finished state. I have gone through and put one line of stitching down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with the binding attachment, and I'm just going to put 3/4 inch grosgrain all along these edges, so I'm hiding all of the raw seams, and it's going to reinforce every seam and make it a little bit stronger. I'm going to do that on everywhere there's a seam, so here, on the bottom of the bag. I'm not going to do it on this top edge because I still have to roll this top edge down like that and sew a hem at the top, and then I'll be attaching my clips on each side, and then I'm just going to attach the shock cord and other random small things, but this pack is pretty much done. Time to put on the side compression cord. I believe you're going to need about 20 inches of shock cord here. I just cut it to length and I'm done. But you're going to start from the side that's touching the mesh. You're going to go directly across, up, and then up to your line lock. So let's do it. So I'm just going to go through here and make a simple overhand knot. Tighten it down. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 knots just for extra security. Get off the cat. And then I'm going to go through this one, back up through this one. Then up through the line lock. Up, through, and I'm just gonna pull it so it's about as much slack as will ever be in it. Right about there. Maybe a little less. Then I'm gonna go ahead and just make a knot. About right, and I'll put it right there. Right there. And then cut it about an inch away from the knot. And I do this because once this is all the way pulled out, I still have a nice little pull right here. So I always have something to grab onto so I can cinch it down. So what I like to do is clean up that edge and just cinch it, well, singe it with a lighter. Just lightly, doesn't have to be much, just to get rid of some of that frayed edge. When you're singeing these edges, it's important to not directly stick it on your fabric when you're done, or else you'll be left with like a nasty plasticky black mark. So I always just touch it to make sure it's cool and it's not leaving any marks on my hand. Then I'm done. I have all the hardware, shock cord on here, shock cording the side pocket, and really what I did with the side pocket was I took this tool. It's literally just like a piece of thin wire, and I fish it through the pocket, and once I get out of one end, I just pull the shock cord all the way through, and that's what I've done here. I've got it in there. It's anchored into this piece of grow grain that we installed a long time ago, and that's it. All these other attachment points are for random accessories. Like I might put a piece of shock cord on this front piece of grow grain right here. As a sock drying mechanism. So this is just rough, this isn't finished. But I just loop it through, and there will be a piece of, there will be a shock cord lock on the end of it, so I can cinch it down to pinch things in between this cord and hold things like a pair of socks or a buff or literally anything that you want to dry out. But yeah, I need to put on the over the top strap, and I think that finishes this pack. Okay guys, this is it. This is the finished product. Again, just give you a little tour. Big side pockets, adjustable shock cord inside, replaceable actually, both right here. Line lock 3s, cinch down, loosen it up. Adjustable Y strap on the top, adjustable here, and adjustable here. Here's that sock drying mechanism that I was talking about. This isn't a sock, but you get the idea. And that's pretty much it.